So I would love to hear more about your Kundalini and how the mind affects that and what you do.
Okay. Some of the things that come up in my trainings, and it's been my question, is people seem to get confused between this mental mind, which we look at like the mind or the mind body. In Sanskrit it's called the chitta, and they get confused between the mind and intuition.
Yes.
And they also confuse Kundalini energy with intuition and mind. So I would like to clarify a little bit about this. The mind is a package of accumulated programs coming from your whole life and your past lives. So it's an accumulation of who you are. For example, if you consistently hear the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's going to be stuffed in your unconscious mind, right? And that's why people might spiral down with their thinking process, because maybe they've had a lot of negative affirmations come at them. And then it's also the future, in that it's projecting what it's accumulated from the past into the future, as far as guessing. You know, so my mind has had this past experience over and over, and it's like, you know, sending me all these signals of information, and I'm going to perceive it based on my life experience, and then I'm going to make a plan for my future based on that. Okay, so that's the mind, and we recover the mind.
Oh, good.
in yoga, with yoga techniques and with pranayamas and all kinds of really wonderful technology, so that the mind isn't like this loose cannon ready to go off, or this monkey that's, you know, going off all over the place, and we can actually rule our mind. Otherwise, all of the mind chatter floating around in the air will just come into us, and we'll own it based on our past experiences. Kundalini, on the other hand, is a dimension, just like intuition. It's a dimension that we go into, which is very simply like a sixth sense, and all it is awareness.
It is beautiful. I love it.
Yes, it's awareness. So what we've done with our Kundalini technologies or life experiences that might bring you to a Kundalini experience, or the awakening and expanding of Kundalini, is we've uncorked the plug, basically the coccyx or the root chakra, so that rather than it being me and you're outside of me, once we uncork that or open up that, I like to use the analogy of a bottle of wine. When we take that cork off, suddenly the essence can be inside and outside. So Kundalini energy is really this energy that enables us to feel transparent. Meaning, if I get around these lovely people, I feel full of life. When I'm with you, you know, my inspiration and my spirit and everything feels alive. I'm in life. I'm in love. It's really wonderful. But if I get around some environment that might be a little bit more strenuous or stressful or negative, in my transparency, I can merge with that. Yes. So Kundalini really implies, with that expanded experience of awareness, it implies a unity consciousness, so that I'm in here, but I'm also out there. And so what makes it challenging for people who have not created a strong physical structure, or a strong mental structure, or they're not discriminating or discerning properly with their intuition, it could be very crazy making.
Absolutely.
To constantly be self-reflecting, and there's no sense of surrender in that. There's more that can come out of it of, wow, there's just so much I need to fix. You know, and then on the other side of that, this is where like a bipolar feeling might come in with, you know, and I think a lot of people that are experiencing bipolar disease have an awakened Kundalini. The thing is you can have like this great experience of bliss, where, you know, I am one with God, I am one with you, I am one with the plants and with the air and with everything. And it can be very blissful and just great. And then in the next, and then we say, in that state, life is mutable, pliable. We can life create and make it happen. And then suddenly, boom, we can be on the other side of that and experience stagnation, rigidity, concrete. Life isn't easily influenced for change. And that's when we come up against a samskara. It's our own personal block. It has nothing to do with anybody out there. There are no victims here. And it can get challenging if people can learn that surrender to that.
And so by practicing Kundalini yoga, my question is, instead of that constant inner reflection where you said it's like, oh my goodness, this is exhausting, this inner reflection, and am I ever going to move beyond this?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is a lot of work. Would you say that by practicing Kundalini yoga, that it actually helps assist and sweep some of that away?
All of yoga does that.
Okay.
Any form of yoga that you do will work with the mind, so that the mind doesn't get hooked and anchored in.
Okay.
And the Kundalini, it's what the self-reflection, I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. That's an imbalance from the Kundalini. And it's from the rigid mind.
It would
So
be.
what Kundalini does is it develops our tolerance and our capacity to continue experiencing this unity mind. And that's where the surrender is. And surrendering is a very active process, as you know.
I love it. Because if you're actually keeping on doing that reflection, you could continue doing the reflection without any surrender.
Yes.
And so the results would be from surrendering, practicing Kundalini, and doing some reflection.
The reflection is always going on,
Okay.
and then the ability to let it go.
Love it.
And so Kundalini, when you're in a healthy state of active Kundalini awareness, you're in a neutral mind.
Love it.
And it's not to be confused with the law of attraction or the law of repulsion. These two things have to have this kind of synergistic coherency between them, so we're neutral.
Okay, and then so you would become more of an observer
Yes.
and detach from that and release it and let it go. Surrender, become an observer,
Right.
release it.
And the
let go.
Kundalini is a navigating tool. So we use the serendipities and synchronicities and, our clairs as this dimensional tool. And that's, where the intuition, developing that is so important, and understanding how your mind works. That the mind just keeps thinking the same thing over and over again. It's really quite boring. Just check it out someday, sit there and watch it and go, phew!
Yes.
Like you want the emptiness after you hear how boring it is. It's like these tapes that go round and round and round. And so it all works together, right? And yoga, these different pranayamas, Kundalini yoga, any yoga, strengthens that completely. And we become more, the goal is to become more of ourselves and to channel more of ourselves, because we are the angels.
I love it. Yes. And so how can people get a hold of you, Karen?
Oh
For
gosh,
further
okay.
information?
So my website is bendingbladeyoga.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can email me directly or Facebook me. But yeah, bending, like a bending blade of grass, bending blade yoga. And yours?
Beautiful. BrigitteParvin.com, and you can also find me on Facebook. And I'm also, follow me on Facebook with a book called How to Get Your Life Back that I'm co-authoring with Doreen Virtue, and it's Healing Through Addictions.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I got chills all over.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.